Okay, so with the Jamie Bolger murder, you can see that he was sickeningly hit on the head with a rock, and that this is a reference to a head injury, and that this group that are doing this they're the A group, led by Judd Charlton, that was, as explained earlier, dropped as a baby, and he bumped his head, tapped his head a little bit. I mean, there's no damage to him at all, no brain damage, just a very, not a big drop, just like literally from the chair to the floor. You know, you can't do brain damage on that kind of fall. Also, there was no bruises with him, and that Judd is lying, and he hates Spain, he hates his mum, he hates. He hates the Monty Pythons. His dad works with the Monty Pythons, and he doesn't like them. And he's resentful for them. Why is he resentful? Because Julian, his dad, was never at home when he was younger, which is normal for people who work in the film industry. I also had the same, but I didn't take it out on my parents. I thanked them for it because they brought money home. However, with Judd, he's lying, and Julian dropped him literally a couple of feet by accident, and it's not funny, but he didn't get any bruises, he didn't get any injuries, none at all. No ambulance was called. There was no after effects. He was perfectly fine. Right now, they've made it. They've over exaggerated the incident, so they can attack our group when our group actually own the banks. So if they indict us for anything, then we've lost the banks in a criminal case. But they've done it in a kangaroo manner. There is no law courts, and now Julian has been indicted for almost like attempted murder of a young baby, of a young boy, and he's done here. The truth is he's totally innocent. He's done nothing wrong, and he didn't try to kill his own son. That's ridiculous, right? And they're lying out of their ass, and it's totally out of order. And then later on, Judd grows up to be a complete monster, blaming his dad for everything, and then he organises the Jamie Bolger murder. All right, so this is a complete lie. All right, and now we're going to go into some more stuff about the same group, and let's look at elsewhere they've been doing too. Okay, so my name's Max, and my dad is the head of Holland. He's a Dutch guy, and as the head of Holland, you're essentially the head of the banks because Amsterdam owns all the banks, and my dad is known for being the head of the banks because he's inherited the banks. Right, that's a lot of money. Now I'm his son. I'm called Max. And at Max ATM machine is the people stealing the banks off us. All right, so now to steal the banks, they had to do something similar to what they've done to Julian. Okay, Julian dropped a boy literally from the height of a chair seat to the ground. No damage was done, yet he was indicted for murder. You know, and then all his life he's had a miserable life. I mean, they've just hounded him like you've never seen, Judd and his mates. Now he's done nothing wrong. All of his family say Julian's done nothing wrong. The whole family is a big family. A lot of them are Spanish, and I'm one of them. I was adopted by them, and we love Julian. We know that he wouldn't hurt anyone. He certainly didn't hurt Judd. Right now, also Judd has a best friend called Jake Nava, who is about 6'4", and he's a giant. And Jake is an absolute monster. And together, Judd, the prolific liar, who created the Jamie Bolger murders, after blaming Julian for apparently nothing occurred. Okay, no damage was done, and they've just done some serious damage only because Julian has also adopted the son of the banks. So if they indict Julian, then they can also take his son's banks too, and that's what they've done. That's what at Max is. Julian's son is also called Max. At Max has taken the banks. Why? Because Julian apparently dropped his baby, and that person was Judd, and now Judd has run off with the banks and given it to actually South America. All the blacks in South America are stinking rich with $1 trillion of our money actually belongs to the West and the Queen and our family. All right, so that's the Jamie Bolger murder, and based on complete falsities. All right, now the murder is true, very true. Certainly, the kids involved in that murder, that's all staged. The people that murdered that boy was actually Jake Nava. and Judd Charlton. Only the sickest individuals could do such a thing. And then again, they're attacking Julian. Right, who apparently see it's disgusting what's going on. Poor Julian. Like we'll talk more about him later. Okay, so now let's look at another case, another situation again involving the same people. Okay, so as I explained, my dad actually, I was adopted by Julian too. He's a Spanish British guy. He works in the Monty Pythons, and he's a very hard-working individual. He's done very well for himself. He a very talented guy. Um, Now he adopted me when I was young, and there was three of us. So there's me, Judd, and Jesse, who were the kids in his family. And I was also adopted by obviously Carol and my dad, who are my real parents, as it were. They're the real central adopted people who adopted me. And then Carol is a queen, and my dad is the head of Holland. Right now, the head of Holland owns the banks, and he's passed it on to me, Max. Right, so me and Julian now been getting very, very attacked because Julian's also attacked me, and Judd wants to steal the banks off me. And he knows how to do that by blaming Julian for something that he hasn't done. Now he's done that, and now he's run off with the banks. Actually, Judd owns the banks. He's Jack the Ripper, for fuck's sake. Right, at Max, is Jack the Ripper killing Max. Right, he killed 12 Yorkshire women, and he's been attacking me grievously. He's attempted to kill me about 3 times. Like, okay, so when I was young, a little bit more about this story now. When I was young, about 6 years old, my mum used to have lots of parties. Okay, she's a hippie, and we used to have lots and lots of parties, and there'd be lots of adults about, and the kids of those adults would be in and around my room. I knew all of them. I knew all the kids. I can name a whole load of people who we were friends with. And then there was one party where my mum had and or some friends round for dinner, and we were in my room with one of their sons, and I don't know who he is. And I'm about 7, he's about 6 or 7 or 8. We're about 6 or 7 then, and I don't know this guy. And I must admit, I have a lot of pent up anger in me because I'm being sexually abused by a monster who's violently beating up my mum, threatening to kill my dad, terrorizing me grievously like it was a Vietnam War. And I was brought up, not properly, if you know what I mean. And I had some pent up anger. However, I wouldn't hurt anyone. Okay. However, when my mum had a party and one of the kids were around, they were in my room, and there was a boy. I was 7 years old. He was about the same, and basically I didn't know him. And now, as I explained earlier, my dad is Wim. He's the head of Holland. Now, the head of Holland owns the banks. Everyone in established society knows this fact, right? The head of Holland owns the Amsterdam banks. That's the banks, international banks, by the way. It includes the Bundesbank in Germany and the American Express in America and Barclays, NatWest and HSBC and all the banks in England. It's all owned by a singular entity that is actually Holland. Whoever heads Holland owns all those banks internationally. So I'm Max, I'm inherited the banks, and in my bedroom, at the end of my bed, is a big chest. Okay, so we have a chest upstairs too. It's a big chest. It's a big ancient. It's an antique chest, basically. It's a piece of antique. And it's a beautiful piece of work. I mean, and inside it's basically a chest. And in the olden days, they used to keep important things in there. All right, so we've got a chest upstairs, very genuine chest. Right downstairs in my bedroom, we've got another chest, but it's made out of cardboard, and it's basically my box where I keep my bedroom stuff, my toys, all the stuff that I have in my bed, my school stuff, and all that kind of stuff. I used to keep my personal belongings in there, and this chest was very ricketily made. It was made out of cardboard. It wasn't sealed properly. It's not a proper chest. It's a chest for little kids, if you know what I mean. You buy it in a kid's shop, right? And it's easily dismantled, yeah? So this chest was at the end of my bed, and then one day, when my mum had a party, and one of the kids was in my room, and I don't know who this person is, and we used to play hide and seek when we were that age. I think most people played hide and seek when they were 7 years old, and you'd be hiding in a corner. You don't know where this corner is. It's like just a corner of the house, and one of the corner of the house is inside this chest box, which I myself have hidden in and closed the lid and hoping that nobody will find me. All right. So now this time when my mum has a party, one of the kids is round in my room, and I told him to get in the chest. Right. So he got in the chest, and I didn't intend to hurt him, nothing like that. I didn't premeditate to hurt him at all. However, I'm a bit angry. So I then shut the lid on him, and there's a lock on there. Right. And then there's no padlock. There's never been a padlock for my chest in my room. Right. And so it was not locked. Right. So, and he wasn't trying to get out either. And I put the thing. Now, however, all of this was being filmed by Judd, who is a spy. Also, his accomplice, Jake Nava, who is also a spy. And they admit they're spies, spying on me. And I was 7 years old. I put this other lad into the chest that I've been in myself, actually for a long time. There's lots of air in there. This is a rackety, rickety chest with lots of gaps and holes. It's old as well, and it's not made to be airtight whatsoever. Okay, so this young lad, I put him in there. I shut the lid. There's no lock on there. He's not trying to get out. I wait. I stand by the box. I know what I'm doing. I've got some pent up anger in me. There's no reason for him to go in there. We weren't playing hide and seek. However, I told him to get in that chest, and I shut the door on it. I shut the lid on him. And I stood outside that chest, right next to it. I didn't move, and I waited for about 50 seconds, and then I lifted the lid up and said, "Get out." Right, because I didn't intend to hurt him, and I wasn't doing that. I was just slightly pent up, depressed and frustrated. That's all. And I took it out on this lad that was my own age, 7 years old. And then I got him in the chest, closed the lid, and then after a minute, opened the lid, and he was out. So absolutely no big incident whatsoever. He certainly wasn't crying. He wasn't screaming. He didn't show any anger to me afterwards. He didn't tell his mum and dad that I'd done something wrong. My mum didn't tell me off for anything. I would have been grassed up if I had done something wrong, and I would be in serious trouble, right? But I hadn't done anything wrong. I let him out after 50 seconds. All of this is being filmed on a secret camera at Judd's house. That is Northern Irish terrorism. That, guess what, is after my banks. That's why that camera's there. They're after my banks. All right. So now this kid gets out of the box. He's fine and safe, and everybody has got this video. Actually, in hindsight, all these years later, we know that internationals are also looking through that camera, and they saw this incident too, and they say Max has done no wrong. For instance, ABBA, the ABBA family, the ABBA band, they have that camera. All right, they have a camera on me. All right, and they're supporting me, and they're saying what Max and his mate did, but Max did no wrong. And he's been indicted for something that he's done nothing wrong there, because later on there's the Suitcase murderers. Right, so the Suitcase murderers is something going on in America. Now, I'm adopted by Elvis Presley and Marilyn Monroe too, but then they were killed, and then I was then adopted by another set of families, and Carol was one of them, and this case was in my. So this has been filmed actually also by Sweden, Germany, Italy, the mafia, American government, and the British as well, the British establishment. And they're using this camera to look after me, to make sure that nobody can indict me for something that is untrue, which they are constantly trying to do, because I'm Max, head of the banks. Anyone who puts me in prison then collects my money too. So Jake and Judd, they're looking at me through this camera, but then so is also ABBA, the music family. They're also looking, and they're saying Max has done no wrong. And then they come in much years and years later, and then they call themselves ABBA, and they're a big band, a massive band, and they also have a camera on my bedroom, and they said Max has done no wrong, and actually this whole incident is all about money, actually money, and this is an SOS, right? We've had our bank stolen, and ABBA's saying it's an SOS. Right, that Max has had his bank stolen, and then they're making us homeless and all types of attacks. You can't imagine how many. There's so many, right? Now ABBA is saying that not only has he not done anything wrong, but they're going to celebrate me. Right, that whole ABBA music foundation is a celebration of music and what we stand for. Elvis Presley, Marilyn Monroe, the Beatles, so much more. King John is my dad. He's basically most of the music world. He loves music, literature, arts, and the cultural world. That has actually excelled Europe greatly and America. And without this stuff, we'd be half as rich. So it's important to have this on your in your repertoire: music, art, fashion, universities, and politics that I represent. Now, so when I was 7, I put this kid in a case, but I let him out after 50 seconds, and I certainly wouldn't have left him in there, and that's definite. I mean, let's take a hypothetical. Let's say, for instance, I'd walked away from that case and went upstairs or went out of the house, and then let's say pretend let's say let's say that case had a padlock on it, and then I locked it. Right, let's pretend I did that, right? Now, and then I walked away and left him there for 5 minutes. Now, I wouldn't have done that. Now, I definitely wouldn't have done that. I'm not that sort of person. I was not aiming to hurt him. So I stood by that case the whole time that it was there. I've been in that case myself after playing hide and seek. You can breathe very, very well in there. In fact, there was hardly anything in there. And it's the size of an adult, this case. It's long, it's wide. Okay, so hypothetically, if I had left that case, then yeah, I had done something wrong. I put my hands together, please take me to prison. I'd done something wrong at that point. But no, I didn't do that. I didn't leave the case, right? I stood by there and I let him out after 50 seconds. It's not so bad, right? Yes, I had pent up anger in me. I don't know why I did that. I was 7 and I never done anything like that again. What can I say? I mean, he never got any injuries from this, none at all. He wasn't even crying about it. He didn't even complain. He didn't come out and say, "What you fucking?" You didn't even do that. Well, I didn't do that when I was put in there either. It's no big deal. However, the cameras that were looking at it, so the ABBA were looking at it, but then also our enemy are looking at it. The A group, your chicken shops, they're looking at it and saying, "I've done something wrong." And then the chicken shops are also Category A prisoners, and they're going around killing people. They're called the Suitcase murderers. All right, so now Jake and Judd, they're both wearing suits by the time they're 7 now, and they're getting what you call tailor-made suits for themselves, and they're very, very rich. Jake Nava, he's stolen the banks, their family, before this incident. By the way, they're just using this incident to sustain the theft of the banks. They've already stolen the banks already because they're the cartels in South America, extremely criminal, right? And this incident just sustains. They're trying to sustain the theft of the bank by using this silly little incident that isn't an incident. The boy that was involved wasn't crying at all. He didn't complain. He didn't tell his mum and then told my mum and then my mum told me off. Nothing like that. All right, if I had done something wrong, my mum would have found out. She would have been very, very angry. And I can tell you this: I would have never have done something like that. Right, I would have never walked away from that case. Right, I would have never locked that case in. There was no padlock. There was no key. Nothing like that. Right, I let him out because I didn't intend to hurt him. Okay, but however, the enemy, the A group, the chicken shop, psychiatry, and your dark Indians and the African men, they're saying something else. So now they're running off with my banks. Right, those ATM machines at Max, I'm called Max. So with an incident like this, if somebody had done something wrong, I was 7 years old, and so if I had done something wrong, I would have had flashbacks with this all my life. And I've never had flashbacks with this. Never. It never come to my memory at all. I don't have flashbacks. Just don't have flashbacks. I have flashbacks when I stole some cheese and I stole some money. That I have flashbacks with that, but it's not so bad. Cheese, I mean, it's not so bad. I could go to prison for 10 minutes for something like that. All right, so I didn't have any flashback. I done no wrong in that situation. Okay. The only reason that I'm talking about is because I found out about the Suitcase murderers, and I'm thinking, well, we know that Jack the Ripper, we know that Judge Jack the Ripper with Jake Nava, and that they killed Jamie Bulger. We know that, blaming a poor adult Julian for this incident a drop where no, there was no incident. It's an accident, and no harm was done. Judd is not brain damaged, not nowhere near it. I mean, I'm a medical doctor. You can't brain damage someone from dropping them from a chair. Impossible, right? And they're lying because Julian has adopted me, owner of the banks. Now Judd and Jake have run off with the banks. They're extremely rich right now. So with the incident of Jamie Bolger, okay, Judd and Jake Nava have killed Jamie Bulger with a rock to the head. And that's a reference, right, to Julian that accidentally dropped Judd as a baby, didn't mean to. Now, in hindsight, after the incident, well, we all know Julian, and everyone in his family say Julian has done no wrong. Everyone that knows Julian says Julian would do no wrong to Judd, and that Judd is just a fucking liar. He's the biggest fibber you've ever seen, and he's been told to fib, to keep fibbing, so that they then can go and steal the banks. And yes, they have stolen the banks. Let's look at ATM machines. I'm called Max. Me and Julian are called Max, and look at that ATM machine at Max. So this chest in my room at the end of the bed was like kept my toys in, all the stuff that I had in my room, some books. No harm occurred that day, and the reason they're attacking me, this camera, the A group, the chicken shops, is because that chest actually represents the bank's chest, the chest of the banks. Because we have another chest upstairs, which is a serious piece of antiquity, and it represents the fact that I've inherited the banks and that it's all been stolen off me. So another reason that they would be attacking me is Judd and Jake Nava. They are Jake is Judd's partner. So Judd is the head of the A group. He's actually the head of the Christian church. They made him the Christian church. Can you believe it? And that he's the real Jack the Ripper. Yes, Judd. But he had an accomplice, and that accomplice is actually Jake Nava. You'll see him in those photos. He's about 6'4". He's a giant. And he's very sick. His brain is not working properly. As you can see, he's accusing me of something with that case, and there's nothing there. Also, they're accusing Julian of dropping Judd. Again, there's nothing there. So it was a case that we're talking about. Actually, it's a chest, and that it's the banks. So whoever's indicting me for anything is earning $1 trillion too. So effectively, if I had holes in my socks as a young kid, they will go out there and be the sock killer, and then trying to say that I've got a problem, and that I should be indicted for this crime of having holes in my socks, when there is no crime. I just got holes in my socks every now and then, no big deal. It's not a crime. However, the camera people are saying it's a crime, then stealing my banks, and now they're the sock killer. Do you hear what I'm saying? This is what's going on. I've done nothing wrong. So Judd and Jake Nava with this camera on me and in my bedroom that saw everything that went on in my bedroom, especially when I went to bed at night, and their gays came in and orally sexed me all night. And this is before I had this incident with another lad with the chest. So they're watching an adult homosexual paedophile sexually abused me in this room, and they show no objection. Even so, they're the Suitcase murderers. So where are this group killing gay paedophiles? Why aren't they doing that? That was going on in my bedroom. Isn't that a whole lot worse? Right. So where are these people killing gay people? They're not there. It's because Judd and Jake are also incestuous gay paedophiles themselves. They sent in this big guy, Jay, 50 years old, to sexually abuse me. They're incestuous gays. They hate the women and girls. They are trying to remove them. They actually have dire plans to remove all women and girls. I mean, these people are bonkers. So with the Suitcase murderers, that's about this case. Okay, those murderers are essentially the gay community, or the bad side of the gay community, and they're killing me because I represent heterosexuality and the king and queen, that runs England and America and the world, and they want to destroy that because incestuous gays want to kill off heterosexuality completely. So this seems very, very strange. I'm sure you feel the same. But in South America, they have a very different view about this, and they're very gay down there. Like, if you look how many blacks there are, well, they're there for anal sex. That's why their boyfriend is a homosexual white guy. And that the Suitcase Murderers is also run by Jake Nava, who's about 6'4", and his boyfriend Judd Charlton, Northern Irish. They also run the Mardi Gras in South America, and they are the Suitcase Murderers that stole the banks off Max. At ATM machines is actually owned by the Mardi Gras now, and they've stolen all our money. If you notice, the Mardi Gras is run by a very poor country, South America, countries rather. It's very poor down there, right? But yet the Mardi Gras is one of the biggest festivals in the world, all financed by the banks, Barclays Bank, NatWest, Santander, American Express, banks everywhere. So you know what the Mardi Gras is most famous for? Homosexual lies. So when homosexuals lie, they lie constantly and they lie all the time. In fact, there are non-stop homosexual lies coming out of the Mardi Gras. Now, also, Jake Nava, that is the Suitcase Murderer, they also created the rap world. Actually, by this guy called Jake Nava, a giant, who's trying to kill all the women, the Queen's women, after indicting them for something. They've done nothing wrong. I've done nothing wrong. They're saying I've done something wrong, and then they're stealing the banks, but they're also then attacking the Queen's people too. They're the biggest opportunists I've ever seen. All right, there's no opportunity there from anyway. We've got a camera on the whole incident. ABBA saw the whole incident and said we've had our bank stolen off us, and we are money, 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 and this is our SOS. Okay, so the people watching my bedroom when I was 7 years old includes the A group, which is headed by Judd, who's also a 7-year-old at the time. Yeah, now he's older and he's an absolute monster, and he's based on 100% superficial lies that are also homosexual lies, non-stop homosexual lies. Okay, with this camera that they've got a number of people there. Jake Nava and this guy called Judd Charlton, the Northern Irish people. And then also in this camera is a guy called Pepe, who is Jake's dad, and Jake's brother, for instance, and Jake's brothers. Jake has a few brothers, and a couple of those brothers, including Jake's dad, they call Jake a fish for what he's doing and how they're attacking me. They call him a huge fish. And they show and take a picture of this fish as well. I can't find this picture anymore, but Pepe, Jake's dad, is calling Jake and Judd the biggest fish out there. He's holding, Pepe has caught this fish, and he's holding it up, and it's bigger than a shark. It's huge. It's a huge fish, and it's caught by Pepe, who's a fisherman, and he calls that fish Jake and Judd. Over and out. So Judd and Jake and the A group that are all the chicken shops and psychiatry, they're accusing me of something with this chest. But you know, if I had done something wrong, I would have repeated this somewhere along the line. This is like standard psychology and psychiatry and criminal investigation. They're looking for the repeat offences to use it in a court case against that person. With me, I was 7 years old. I was also surrounded by kids throughout my childhood because we used to go on summer camps and Easter camps with lots of kids about. I never had any problem with any of them. I never had any incident with them. I never tried to do anything. I never premeditated anything. I had a bad childhood, that's correct, but I never took it out on any other kids there. I never attacked any kids. I was with kids all twice a year throughout my childhood, and they will all tell you that they really like me, the kids. I looked after them well. I look after kids. I do well with kids. I'm not out to hurt anybody. I certainly wouldn't hurt a kid, right? Now, hypothetically, around that chest, let's say, for instance, after I put that boy in there, I told him to get in there, and he was in there for no more than a minute. And then I let him out myself. Now, let's say hypothetically I'd left that chest and went to another room, then that's a totally different story. All right, that's a totally different story. And then I cross my hands together and say, put handcuffs on me and take me to prison. If I had done that, which I didn't do. All right, and later on, and before that also, and after, I'm around kids all the time. I don't hurt them at all. Nothing like that. I mean, I'm very friendly. Okay, I wouldn't hurt anybody, especially not women or kids or the elderly. However, Judd and the chicken shops, they're regularly killing kids, beating up women, saying no to women, saying no to girls, and having loads of incestuous sex and filming this as well for themselves. So homosexual liars is what they are. Now that we know a tad more about the suitcase murderers, and that is the A group, they're the chicken shops, your dark Indians and psychiatry. Well, they're actually also the African men, and they're using anything they can to then steal all the banks. And actually, they're not going to steal the banks; they're trying to kill us all too. And in our group are the Jamaicans. Okay, and the African men are desperately trying to kill all the Jamaicans in America, and that this is what this is all about. Also, too, they're trying to kill the Jamaicans. They've stolen the banks off us. The Jamaicans know this. They're very angry, and that we also are because Bob Marley, when I was a kid, he made me Jamaicans number one. So I've been indicted for all this stuff, and they got a camera on me, and now actually Jamaicans have had the bank stolen off them, actually by African men, the gay community, and the psychiatry department, and a whole bunch of other Category A prisoners. They're also the far right. So before this incident with the case, it's a case. It's not a suitcase. It's like a case, like a chest. Like it's like a large box that that kids would keep their toys in and all their belongings. And then this case was made of cardboard, so it's like very easy to get out. If somebody was shouting in there, they could hear it next door. No one was shouting ever in there, like simple as that. And if they were, I'd let them out straight away. All right, so with this case, as I say, it's referring to another case in our house that is a piece of antique furniture, and it's a very old case, and it goes back to the. It's an old case. It's hundreds of a piece of antique, and then that chest represents the fact that I've inherited the banks. Okay, so all these attacks are all actually about the banks. Okay, if you look at the ATM machines, that's the banks there. They are the chest killers. They are the suitcase killers. Actually, the banks, high street banks. So, so before this case incident, where there was no incident, none at all. If there was an incident, I'll tell you about it. There was no incident. So, and no worry, no anxiety, all of that kind of stuff. Okay, so before that, we were seven then. Now, before that, I was about 5 years old, and my mum took me up to the heath when it was snowing, and we went tobogganing down Hampstead Heath. Now we went up there, and there was the A group, that are the chicken shops, the dark Indians, and their Category A prisoners that were with them, and they've been consistently attacking me. Actually, before that chess incident, and when we were on the heath, snowing it was, and we were sledging down the hill, the enemy, the Category A chicken shops and the dark Indian and Category A prisoners, they got a car door. They severed a car door that had all sharp edges on it, and they belted it down right behind me, and they were going very fast, and they just missed my eye. With the corner of the door, that they aimed to hit me. They were aiming to hit me on the head with this car door. All right, that's rather nasty, my friends. That looks like attempted murder as well. And they did that before the chess scene, by the way. The same people that have stolen the banks, the ATM machines, are also the car door, and the Category A people that did that with the car door, and they very nearly killed me. People witnessed this. They said they got away very miraculously. So there are a lot of people involved in this, and a lot of people were witnessing what was occurring, and people, nearly everyone, are saying I've done nothing wrong. The only people who are saying I've done something wrong are in South America, those blacks out there. Okay, so a lot of these suitcase murderers are actually the black people. Okay, they're not all black people, by the way, but a lot of them are. Certainly, they're getting paid, these black people, like millions of pounds. Then they're giving this money to their families, and then they do these murders, and then in a suitcase, something to do with a suitcase. and even though they go to prison, they're getting paid like millions of pounds actually by the banks. Your ATM machines are paying millions of pounds for murderers, blacks, to murder the Queen's people, put them in a suitcase. Okay, that's what's going on. Right. So the people that are watching this, well, there are actually loads of people. It's an international situation, so you can imagine a lot of countries involved. All right, and with the people that are directly around me, well, they all came around me and said that I've done nothing wrong, and that they really love me, right, and that I have done nothing wrong, and that I've got a lot of support actually in Judd's family. Okay, so Judd is the person who's doing the suitcase murders. All of Judd's family and all the families around Judd and around my family, all the families around, they all support me. Even Judd's own family supports me. They don't support Judd. They're saying he's the biggest fibber out there. So the brilliant Michael Jackson, actually, he's a genius because he brought in a suitcase. If you notice, and you know what he's talking about. Exactly, he's talking about the suitcase murderers, and he's saying the whole Queen's people are under attack. All right, and then the category A and chicken shop set out to put out a whole load of mass propaganda against him, so that the suitcase murderer gets away. But Michael Jackson was begging for his fans to pay attention and look at that suitcase and what's going on, and that actually the murderers want to put the whole of America, all of England, in that suitcase. All right, so Michael Jackson, a genius, loved his fans, and you can see it right there. He was also a top investigator. I mean, that suitcase is all about Judd. Judd Charlton, head of the A group, that is the suitcase murderer. But then he's created loads of other suitcase murderers. It's actually all over the place. It's amongst the prison communities. You can call the prison communities the suitcase murderer. All these murders actually are a suitcase murder. Maddie McCann, Ian Huntley, Jack the Ripper, the Nottingham murders, the Southport murders, okay, the Ipswich murders, all the murders going on in America, they're all inspired by South Americans black whiting, and they're indicting the king for something that he hasn't done. Like I say, I put that boy in that case because I went in there myself previously in hide and seek games, and there's nothing wrong with it. And he was only in there for a minute, and never did I leave his side. I was there and I lifted the lid to let him out. He wasn't upset. He wasn't crying. He didn't go to his mum, who was right next door, and said, Max did this to me. He didn't do any of that. I didn't get told off by my mum. Nothing happened. Nothing occurred. Making it up. They're the biggest liars you can possibly imagine. Let's look at what happened to Julian. So Michael Jackson is telling the public about the suitcase murderer, and that suitcase murderer is actually the dad to all of America. Yeah, he's the dad. Judge Charlton has been chosen by the Christian Church to head the whole of America, the Christian Church across Europe and England. Okay, so it's outrageous. So someone got to say something about this. Oh, thank you, Michael Jackson. Thank you. We didn't know until you came along. And where is Michael Jackson now? Over and out. So Michael Jackson has a case, and inside this case are his gloves. Okay, those gloves, silver gloves, are talking about Judd again. Judd and Jake Nava, his accomplice. Judd comes with an accomplice, Jake Nava, 6'4". He looks like a monster. Jake is an incestuous gay paedophile. He used to have an American baseball glove, and he likes baseball. He is a baseball man. So the baseball world is also the A group, that are the suitcase murderers and Jack the Ripper, and they're incestuous gays with boys. Jake was having sex with his older brother Zadok, who Zadok's the head of the hospitals now, head of psychiatry, a seriously prolific gay paedophile, making loads of homosexual porn and videos. And they've still got them, these videos, at 18 Southcote Road, where Jake is from. Okay, in London, 18 Southcote Road, NW5, Tufnell Park, London, and that's where Jake lives. And Jake is Judd's partner, and Michael Jackson's is talking about them. They're the Suitcase murderers, and then they use a doctor to kill Michael Jackson to stop that voice coming through. Okay, so they've stolen the banks, and then now they're the Suitcase murderers to kill all the Queen's people, so they don't have to fight anyone now. How pathetic! And the brilliant and excellent and extremely brilliant Eric Clapton says he calls me the deputy, and his song "I Shot the Sheriff" is about Judd, who is not the real sheriff, but he's acting like the sheriff, and he's a liar, a huge liar. His whole family says he's a liar. All the families around him say he's a liar. I'm telling you he's a liar, and I'm called the deputy. Eric Clapton calls me the deputy, and that "I Shot the Sheriff" is about this, the Suitcase murderers. And that my dad is King John, and he's actually St. John of St. John's Ambulance Service. And I've known the brilliant royal family for a long time. And we're not allowed to contact because of complications, but I'm part of the royal family. And Kate Middleton knows all about this. And she says, "Oh my God, she's got cancer." Actually, she's the Queen, and she's saying the whole of England and America, all the Queen's countries, we've got cancer. She's talking about the Suitcase murderers that's stolen the banks and they've stolen the banks, and the way they prevent the fight for the banks is by killing the Queen's people. That's their resolution, utterly ridiculous as it is. And that Dr. Desai at the Blackpool Hospital Psychiatry, he's actually put in place by the Suitcase murderers. Okay, and they've actually tried to attempt to kill me using a specific type of medication, the same medication they used on Elvis Presley that then killed him. They then used the same stuff on me, and they tried to kill me a few months ago. Dr. Desai and most of these dark Indians in hospitals are actually put in there by the Suitcase murderers. Actually, psychiatry is the real Suitcase murderer, and Judd Charlton and Jake Nava are the head of psychiatry. I advise you to look at the picture of Jake Nava and decide whether you want him directing your fate. If you're in any way mentally ill, he just wants to kill you. And after this incident with the case, with Judd, looking at this through his camera in my bedroom, soon after, Judd is also Northern Irish, and they're the worst side of the Category A prisoners, serial killers and child killers, got nothing to live for, and they're working with Judd. And when I was at primary school, I was about 8 years old, their group picked up a huge wooden table and tried to blind me with it. They threw it right at my face, and it just got me right by the corner of the eye and made a scar on my eye. When I was 7 years old, they were trying to blind me. They know I'm adopted by the Italian mafia and Elvis Presley and Marilyn Monroe, and I'm the real Scarface. I'm a godfather. This camera is using the camera to check if I've got holes in my socks, and if I have, then they're going to attack and kill the Queen's people like I've done something wrong. Well, this case incident is one of those incidents, and there's nothing to worry about. Just like holes in my socks, there's nothing to worry about. There was no incident, and they've turned something that isn't an incident, taken it out of context, and turned it into something completely different. And they've lied, fibbed, and lied, and then they've also taken my banks. I'm properly skinned. I have like £5 in the bank. Yeah, I'm Max, the owner of the banks, international banks across the world. So Judd's group is the A group. That's Northern Irish African men, and they're led by Jay, who's a dark Indian. And he's head of psychiatry as well, and he's bringing in this Dr. Desai that's constantly attacking me. He's been placed by the Suitcase murderers. They've killed so many people. I don't know how many, but it seems to be a trend amongst the prison communities to attack the Queen's people like this. And then these people who are murdering them are getting paid millions of pounds. Money's going to their families, very poor African families. So they've got Africans going out doing these suitcase murder, and they're getting paid a lot of money. And this Dr. Desai is just one of them. And he's placed in there by Jay, who's Judge Superior. Jay is an older guy in his 50s. He's the 550 Club, having sex with 5-year-old boys, and then he knows about what this camera's doing, staring at me, and they're making a big deal out of nothing. And with this, they're then turning me upside down, and I'm the king. My dad's the king of England. So basically, they're turning the whole of England upside down. The psychiatry department, how dare they? Wait till we turn them upside down and throw them all fucking out of the country with no food and no passport. So Jay, who's Judge Superior and Jake Superior, Jay is a homosexual paedophile. He grabbed me, stripped me naked, and held me upside down. I'm a 6-year-old, 7-year-old. And they mean to turn the whole of the West upside down. That's what your dark Indians are doing right now. They must not be allowed to enter America, and if they do, deport them, take all their money. It's our money. So if you want to know more, which we're going to need to know more about this group, the A group, the chicken shop psychiatry, doesn't quite explain it. However, when you see these chicken shop people, well, just by looking at them, you know what you're going to get, not too much. Certainly, they've stolen everything from you. They don't offer this country too much, if you know what I mean. They haven't come here bringing their brilliant excellence with them, if you know what I mean. And that these people are also the cartels in America, in Mexico, Colombia, South America. Those cartels are led by the A group and that camera. And they are the suitcase murderers. They've stolen the banks. The cartels have stolen the banks. So this cartel group are specifically very much the Antichrist. They hate Christ. They hate anyone religious, yet they're the head of the Christian church, guys. They're killing the Christian people. Anyone religious, so Catholics, Christians, Buddhists, Persians, Muslims, and so on. Okay, so they're sick as a bone, right? And they shouldn't be running the Christian church, which is a religious institution. What are they doing? Heading the Christian church, headed by the suitcase murderers. How are they Christian? Please tell me, how are they Christian? And that this Christian church is led by the A group that are psychiatry. Okay, so the A group includes the upper classes, or the bad corner of the upper classes, right? They are also known as the Grinch, or the Scrooge at Christmas time. The Scrooge is actually the bad side of the upper classes that hate Father Christmas. Father Christmas loves women. He's actually from Holland, Amsterdam, and Scrooge, a gay. He's attacking Father Christmas. That's what Scrooge and Father Christmas is all about. Scrooge is the upper classes. Now, the upper classes have been killing babies since the 18th and 16th century. They're killing babies since the 16th century. The doctors are killing babies. They don't like Christians. They don't like heterosexuals. They're killing those babies because they're heterosexual families. They're not only killing them, but they're cutting their throat, they're drinking their blood and anally raping them. Okay, that's your Christian church's head of psychiatry, a baby killing group. And then now Mika Nava, who is actually the mother of Jake Nava, and Judd with that camera, stolen the bank's ATM machines. They are killing babies since the 16th century, that is. The doctors are killing those babies. And are they still doing this today? Let's ask Lucy Letby. We all seem to think she's innocent. Well, she isn't. That's true. She is innocent. She is being indicted and targeted and victimized by South America, who are these doctors in the hospitals. Doctors in the hospitals are mostly the upper classes. The upper classes give themselves the best jobs in the hospital. So you'll see the ward managers, all the people with good jobs are generally placed in by the upper classes that are also the suitcase murderers. And they're killing babies since the 16th century using injections, all types of methods. You can just inject a baby an air bubble and it will run through the blood system, get into the heart, and it seizes the baby's life. They die. All right. So now Mika, when she is Jake's mum, she's also kind of adopted Judd. Jake and Judd are basically gay lovers. Jake is an incestuous gay, as expressed with the silver glove of Michael Jackson, because Jake owns a glove, and he's referring to Michael Jackson is referring to Jake, who wearing this glove is having sex with his older brother when Jake is 7 years old, and Jake gets herpes. He has so much anal sex and oral sex, he's got herpes by the time he's 11. And he's now the head of the schools, head of the banks, head of the law society. How more stupid can this show get? It can't get any more stupid. And that my dad is actually the head of Holland and the head of Germany. And it's just established amongst the Germans and the Dutch and the British. They all say the same, that my dad is the head of Europe, especially Germany and England and the UK and America. And the electronic industry in Germany, for instance, is all owned by the head of Germany. That is also the head of Holland. That is Wim, my dad. And his son is called Max. I'm Max. ATM machines at Max, the banks. All right, so the electronic industry too is at Max. They're also the ATM machines. Every electronic item has this stamp on it, which basically says that they're the ATM machines. It says CE on every electronic instrument, every electronic item. And that CE is actually referring to ATM machines and that kind of stuff. The same group that's stolen the banks off Max. Also, all the electronic items out there are owned by Germany, head of Germany, and his son is called Max. That's me. So I own all the electronic equipment. We've inherited it all, but it was stolen off us by the A group that are using to not only stolen it off us from when I was born, but then they're looking to sustain this theft. And for reasons to thieve that stuff off me. First of all, they tried to kill me when I was about 4 or 5 years old, using a severed car door and then throwing this right at me, and then this nearly killing me, right at high speed on a hill, right. And then they've also stolen the electronic industry off us. So all electronic items belong to Max. And you'll see a reference to this on all electronic items. For instance, Xbox. Xbox is about the case, Michael Jackson's case, the Suitcase murderers. Xbox, the Suitcase murderers have stolen the electronic industry off Germany and Holland. And then look what they're doing. The Xbox refers to what the blacks are doing. They're the Suitcase murderers killing the Queen's people because South America wants to kill all the white people. South America is the A group, is Judd Charlton, Jake Nava, and the baby killers. Okay, and then the Xbox, they've stolen all the electronic equipment. All the electronic equipment is all owned now by South America, Sao Paulo, Brazil, Argentina, Colombia. Right, they've stolen all the electronics that actually comes from Germany. It has nothing to do with fucking South America. Right, but they've stolen Xbox. Now, they've named it Xbox now. They're referring to this case. And then now all the blacks out there are fucking Xbox. Opportunitizing on something that was taken completely out of context. And also Julian is suffering the same problem when he didn't drop his baby and he didn't hurt his baby either, his young kid. Okay, so we're all being indicted for something we've never done, and that Xbox is a serious criminal and needs to go to jail. So people using Xbox, they also need to go to jail because they're associated with something that is so dire that words can't describe. And that has to stop. We have to do a rebuild, and the rebuild will be taking Xbox users and disciplining them. All right, because they're very undisciplined. They're lying at their arse, and that has to stop. We will all die if we carry on. That can only cause mayhem, sewage, and leaks, and a deathly society that even in the 16th century, at the poorest moments, they didn't have that. Today's modernity is a lot worse with that Xbox right there. And with the Suitcase murderer and their intentions that are in England, America, all over Europe, all over Russia, all over India and Australia and China. They're in China too, Thailand.